Welcome. In under 10 minutes or less, I am going to convince you to buy a Nissan Navara. Now I'm going to tell you the top 5 things I love about it and the top 5 things I don't love so much about it. But regardless, at the end of the video, you're still going to want to buy a Navara. So, let's get into it. Alright, what doing? Welcome back to another episode. So if you haven't realised, we ran out of content a little bit. So if you can't tell by the tone of my voice, I've been crook as I've gone back to work. We've been flat out. I've been doing like 9-10 hour days and I just haven't found the time to get anything filmed, let alone edit it. But we are back and we're going to give you some positive and negatives about Nissan Navaras, why you should buy one, why you shouldn't buy one. You're going to buy one. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to give you the top 5 things I love about my car and the top 5 things I not so much love. I don't hate them, I just don't love them so much. If you can't tell, we got proper microphones. So it is windy as everything out here. And I'm really hoping this audio comes out mint because these microphones were expensive. So without further ado, let's run it up. Let's get into it, into the top 5 things I love and hate about this Navara. Okay, to start it off, I think this is going to be a pretty common one, the rear end of these things. Now, sorry for the yap fest this video is going to be. I'm going to keep it under 10 minutes. But the rear end in this thing, like I've got coils in the rear. I can drop wheels like no tomorrow. I can get that whole 35 under the sill. And just the whole suspension and geometry in the rear of this thing for just a modern dual cab ute. Like, it is IFS front, but the rear of this thing is insane. Extended brake lines, no sway bar, and some big shocks. That's all you really need, and you might want some coil retainers because they seem to fall out a fair bit. But that's my number 1 on the list because I really love how this thing performs off-road, and then I can still use it as a day-to-day vehicle. So I think on the whole that the rear end of this thing is the main component of this thing. I think it is the thing that sells this car, because it is honestly just a game-changing feature. And that is my number 1 thing about this car. Because I've kept up with Jamie and his LS Patrol, Jaden and all this. I've said this in many videos before. This thing is a weapon, and it doesn't take much, and it comes from factory like that. Second thing, which really should have been my first, is actually just how tough they look from factory. It's got like the trophy truck style bonnet, and just the body lines and everything. Like, it's really what sold me. They just look so much better than a Hilux. I don't know. I'm not throwing shade here. But I just think they look so much better. They come from factory. You don't have to modify it. And it looks absolutely unreal. So, come as a bit of a shock for you for my number 3 on my personal reason why I love my Navara. But it's under the hood. Okay, so another big sale point for me for the reason I bought it and the reason I still love it is I've got 2 turbos. So the Nissan Navaras, they come factory twin turboed from factory. They're only a little 2.3 litre engine, but that is more than enough paired with 1 big turbo, 1 little turbo for this thing to get up and go. So there's tons of blokes out there getting more than 200 horsepower on this. I don't know how reliable that is. I had it booked in and then I got defected for my DBF being out and I kind of canned all that plans. But I have heard of a lot of blokes pushing some decent power out of these things and still being reliable. Like, when I was on 33s and just stockies, this thing got up and went. Like, if I was being a flog at the lights and just taken off, it would absolutely chop everyone. Now, I'm not saying this is a race car or it's a high-performance vehicle. I'm just saying it gets up and goes. Like, it's not a bad car. Another cool thing I love about the twin turbos in the engine bay is that you're going to hate me for this one. It's when you put an exhaust on it and take out that DPF, you get that high-pitched whistling noise. Now, you literally sound like a Boeing 747 or like a jet aeroplane. Now, this is really mixed. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate it. Everyone says, oh, that's annoying, all this. When I had it in, I loved it. It never got old. But that's just my personal preference. And that's kind of why I love the engine bay on this thing. Now, there are some negatives in this engine bay, as you all saw coming. You don't need to put it in the comments. It leaks oil. I know it leaks oil. But that is what I love about this engine bay. Let's get stuck into number 4. Okay, So I bet you didn't see this one coming. My fourth favourite thing about my Navara, and why you should buy a Navara, is from factory, I find it semi-luxurious inside. Like, compared to a cruiser, which is essentially a farm truck, so should you call it, these things, like, actually have a decent interior. Like, I'll put some clips in of it. She's not clean. I haven't cleaned it in a while. But just the head unit is a bit basic, but other than that, the dash, the trim, just the whole structure of everything, I seem to find quite nice. Now, I'm not one to say, oh, you need luxury in your four-wheel drive, but it is nice to have because you're not always out bush. You're not always out on the beach. Most of these cars, for most people, we drive day to day. So for me, just having that little smidge, I'm not going to call it luxury, but nice interior, I quite like. And I'm pretty sure it's a selling point on the newer Navaras, because they then fixed the head unit. They put a Apple CarPlay in unit from factory. I think it's 2018 onwards. And then if you go up to the higher models, you even get heated seats and all those cool accessories. Now, I'm not saying you need it, and I'm not saying that's the reason you should buy a Navara. I'm just saying these are some of the things I like about it. Now, I used to drive this thing for work for at least 2 years, and I'd punch about 500-600 Ks a week, and to be honest, I found it quite nice because the aircon was brilliant. It's hot and cold, like to the max degree both ways. And the interior is just nice to look at. The dash whites up light. It gives you that, like, I don't know, murk feeling. But that is my personal preference on my fourth favourite thing for the Navara. I do not mind the interior. Okay, fifth and final thing I love about the Nissan Navara, and why this is probably the main reason why you should buy one. There are so many different options out there to modify them. I would go ahead and say, I'm going to go out on a limb here, that this is one of the most easiest cars to modify. Like, don't get me wrong, I've never done any other cars, and there probably are easy other cars to modify. But there is just so many products now on the market for this. So, Alpha, my bull bar. It's a new company that's come out just releasing bull bar. There's King Fab for the snorkels. There's Platinum Mechanical, CRG. There's Project. Now, a lot of these are all Queensland-based companies and Australia-based companies, but from my Instagram and getting messages from people through different countries and everything, there is a lot of that going on overseas. Now, I think it's the Nissan Frontier. I think it's very similar to the Navara, and they've been talking about how they wish they had those mods. So, to keep it relatable, if you're buying a Navara in Australia, where it be Queensland, New South Wales, Perth, wherever you may be, there is so many range of products that you can put on your car or your Nissan Navara to modify it. Now, you can go do your typical lift, wheels, snorkels, twin snorkels, and go put your Iron Man bull bar on and just be like every other Navara. But if you actually browse the internet, browse through your socials, there are so many different options out there to keep your Navara unique and keep it different from everyone else's. But that's really the point I'm trying to get. There are so many products on the market to modify these vehicles. Now, there's options to keep like a street legal DPF, which has got a straight through exhaust and then a valve, which you can press a button on a remote and it will go to like street legal. I think Platinum do that kit, but there are so many different mods on the market for these vehicles these day and ages. So the NP300's been out since 2015, and I don't know if you've seen the new 2024 one going around on social media at the moment, but it is a work of art, so should you call it. Now, whether you like art or don't like art, that is up to you. Now, that is the point I'm trying to get at. There is just a whole bunch of different products for these vehicles. Like, it's not a rarity. You don't have to wait for parts. Most dealers have them. Like, when I did my body lift and I had to take that out, I lost all my bolts. I just went up the road to Nissan and I got a whole bunch of cab bolts for like $100. And then I did the whole cab, fresh bolts. So there is so many products on the market for it, aftermarket and genuine. Hey you, come here. Do you want free mods for your four-wheel drive? Come here, come to my van, I'll show ya. What the hell, didn't your parents teach you not to talk to strangers? Nah, just joking, it's Stu. I just wanted to mention that we have a giveaway going on at the moment. It is completely free to enter, and if you want to win some of those accessories I was talking to you about you can do to your car, I'm talking roof rack, side steps, scrub bars, merchandise, head over to my Instagram, hit the pinned post which says giveaway, and follow the details below. It's completely free to enter. We're drawing the winners at the end of the month. There's a first, second, and third prize. That was not 1, 2, 3, but you get the idea. Go check it out. I've done this, but I still get nervous whenever I'm filming and a car rocks up. Just everything goes, ah! Oh my god. So I've just been watching some of the footage back, and I need a haircut. God damn, I reckon it's been a month. Like, look at the afro going up here. But without further ado, let's get stuck into the 5 things that I do not like about my Navara. I'm joking. There are none. Nah, I'm just joking. So obviously there's going to be some negatives and some downsides, which we all hide from you, so we think we're cool and we got the best car in the world. But there are some downsides to these things. Now, a big one is that they leak oil. Regardless, it's going to leak oil everywhere. Now, I'm talking the rear main, the hot pipe, turbo seals. So I have found that these issues only occur when the car starts doing some serious kilometers. So if you get a lower kilometer Navara, I personally, from my experience, think you will be okay. Those issues might still happen, but they are less likely to happen. Now, my hot pipe has gone, and my rear main has gone before, but that's because I'm now getting into the 140, 150 kilometer range. I've owned this car for 3 years. I expected that to happen. But other than that, there are no mechanical issues that I personally have had. Now, another big one that's going to be on this video is the throttle body pipe. Now, I did do a video on this. Now, this is a very common thing that happens. So the throttle body pipe basically holds all your boost, and then at some certain time when you least want it to, it'll let go and it'll throw your car into limp mode. It'll soot heaps and you'll just lose all boost pressure, and you probably won't be able to go over 20 kilometers an hour. Now, I have done a video on that. Go check it out. We changed one, and hit up Platinum Mechanical because that is the solution to fix it. There is also ProCheck CRG. There are a whole bunch of different options to fix it. But that is probably the second thing on here that is probably my least favorite thing about the Navara, because that really stuffed me. I was about an hour from home and it happened. And tell me, that was not a fun time. I did not enjoy it. Now, this might just be a personal one on my end and my color choice of car, but I don't know if it's all Navaras, and I'm not going to say it is all Navaras, but I have found that my gold paint scratches really easily. Now, all marks, all scuffs. Now, this could be the same with black cars. This is probably just a general spectre of things. But if you see here, I've got a little bracelet on my arm, and I ran it over the car the other day, just like this, trying to rub, and the bracelet rubbed on the car, and it scratched the absolute daylight out of it, and I was like, oh, shit. So I have just found it scrubs really easily, let alone when I've taken it out bush. Now, I have cut and polished this thing like a million times, and I've gotten majority of the scratches out, but when it comes time to sell it, it will get professionally everything done, so it'll be spick and spam as new. But I have just found that the paint is really easy to scratch, and that's probably my third thing on the list. Okay, so my fourth thing on the list about what I don't really like about my Navara is I don't think it's been designed to do hard wheeling and go forward driving every single weekend. Smashing through the bush or through Glasshouse. Now, I know that the car wasn't designed for it, so it's not really my downside. If I wanted to do that, I should have gone and bought a Patrol or something solid axle so I can wheel it without the issues. But I've got 35s on, and this car was not designed to have 35s on it. So one of my only downsides of owning a Navara is I can't wheel this thing as comfortably as I'd want to, with the peace of mind that it's not going to break. So having a 6-inch lift in this thing really helped because it cleared these wheels. But regardless of the fact, I was on Fraser for my schoolies trip. The year after my schoolies trip. First time in Fraser in this car. And I hit a pothole too fast, and it pushed my steering rack 14 mil out of clearance, and the whole wheel and camber was on the piss, and it has since stayed the same. So I replaced the bushes in that and got that fixed. But I just don't think these cars are designed tough enough to wheel. And that's my only personal downside. So if you want to do tough four-wheel driving and smash through tracks, mud holes, Glasshouse Mountains, I don't think this is the car for you. Go buy a solid axle or go buy a Patrol or something that you can wheel and is easier to work on. Because this is more of a touring vehicle that you go smash up on the beach on the weekend and then go back to work on Monday. Now, I know I said I'd do a top 5 of everything, but I genuinely can't think of a 5th thing that I don't really like my car, because I love my car. I had to really force some things out there just of what I didn't like. Now, at the end of the day, these are all just my opinions. Hopefully I've convinced you to buy a Navara, and I've given you some insight on some of the things that go wrong with them should you think of buying one. But I hope you enjoyed the video, because I got no other videos coming. Actually, no. Next episode, we are taking this thing to Glasshouse. So going off my last point about four-wheel driving, I'm going to show you. So we're taking 2 NP300s versus 2 LM106 Hiluxes, and we are going to the Glasshouse Mountains, putting them comparison to comparison, point system on all, to see who is the better four-wheel drive. Now, that'll be a next episode, so stay tuned for that one. But in the meantime, head over to my Instagram, Naughty Nav. That's where you'll find all my daily content. There's even the TikTok going, should you wish. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully, I've done this in 10 minutes or less. Like and subscribe.